take that, we can take choosing q as the generalized coordinate, we can write down the equation of motion. So d dt of del E del q dot minus del E del q is equal to 0. Okay, and this is the equation, and then we can actually find out what is del q dot, which will be nothing but lq dot. Obviously, we take that equation, right? And del E del q is equal to minus of q by c, and then you just put in there, and then you get your answer. So the final equation of motion is lq double dot plus q divided by c is equal to 0. Okay. So whenever you are actually having any kind of system and you want to find out the information about the system, you need to have the equation of motion. And this is what exactly Lagrangian does. It helps us to do that. Okay, so this is something which is done. But then there might be a question, like a trick question might be if there are two capacitors connected in series, okay, or if there are two capacitors connected in parallel and so on. So in that case, you have to design your electrical energy accordingly, okay, because capacitance, you know, if they are connected in series, then 1 by resultant capacitor is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 and so on. Okay. So those ideas you have to be very clear. So if I give you a question, or if you're coming through any entrance exam, they also might give you that kind of question. Okay. So there will be a bit of tricks there. But then depending on whether how many resistors are there, and then what are the capacitors that are being connected, how are they connected, based on this you will get the form of Lagrangian. So depending on what form of Lagrangian, you can always do your calculations. Okay. So please be aware that in exam straight away don't start writing after looking into the question and thinking that okay, this is the question. It might be slightly different, okay, because you never know. Okay, so just check that out. Okay, and then we have got this. Okay, so let me just read this through. Okay, just listen to this. Okay. Can I zoom in? No, I don't have a tool to zoom in this tab. Okay. So the next question is you have to find out the equation of motion of a one-dimensional harmonic oscillator using Hamilton's principle. So now you are going to find out the one-dimensional harmonic oscillator. Okay. So what happens here is, here also we can actually find out the Lagrangian of a one-dimensional harmonic oscillator. Okay. And if you want to find out the Lagrangian of a harmonic oscillator, we have to actually go back to the basics again, and we have to know what is the kinetic energy. Okay. So for a harmonic oscillator, if it is one-dimensional, it will be just half mx dot square, right? And if it also has a motion along the y-axis and the z-axis, this term will become x dot square plus y dot square plus z dot square. You can write it down. And the potential energy for a harmonic oscillator is half kx square. Okay. So this is something which actually follows the Hooke's law. Okay. And then if you consider this equation, F is equal to minus kx. Okay. And we know that F is equal to minus of dV by dx. Okay. So what you can do is, you can actually consider this F is equal to minus kx. Okay. And then we can replace it here, minus kx. So it is dV by dx, minus minus gets cancelled. And then we can just cross multiply. You can simply write it down as kx dx is equal to dV, or V is equal to half kx square, right? So this is the potential energy, and this is something which you already know for a harmonic oscillator. For example, of course, even if you don't show this, it's fine. Okay, you don't need to show this. You just simply write it down as L is equal to T minus V. Put the equations, do your calculation. That's all. Okay. So once done, you actually get the Lagrangian of a one-dimensional harmonic oscillator. So L is equal to T minus V. So this is what's the answer for this Lagrangian is. Then of course you can actually use the generalized coordinate idea. Okay. So then again we will do the same thing. Del L del x dot and del L del x is equal to minus of kx. See, the easier part in doing anything related with Lagrangian is, once you have the equation of motion, the problem becomes very simple. Okay, the problem becomes very simple, and once the problem is simple, I think putting it into the equation of motion is not a very difficult thing. So you see, this is ddt of del L del x dot minus del L del x is equal to 0, and then this is ddt of mx dot minus this and this. So this is very simple. I don't need to explain this. Okay, Okay, you can easily do it. But then sometimes it does happen that, as I said, it's not mandatory that they will give you only one-dimensional harmonic oscillator. It might be a two-dimensional or a three-dimensional harmonic oscillator. And then, of course, this part will actually have three parts, right? It will be having half of mx dot square plus y dot square plus z dot square, right? So it will be nothing but x dot square, okay? And then y dot square and so on. So if I just consider two dimension here, now you see there are two generalized coordinates, and I think we have already done it, but don't get confused here. If you have two generalized coordinates, you will have two equations of motion. Okay, just like that problem that we have done for a projectile motion. So here this won't be the only equation. There will be one more equation. So this will be one equation. Okay? And then one more equation will have y in it. Okay, so ddt of del L del y dot minus del L del y is equal to 0. And so once we put everything there, we actually get the final answer. So you can have two equations of motion, one along the x-axis, one along the y-axis. And if you have got more equations of motion, you can actually find out the unknowns easily, okay, much more simply. So depends on what kind of questions you are having, okay. So this question was there, which came in GATE 2016, okay. And let me just read this question and I will ask you to solve it, okay. I will give you, let's say, around 5 minutes, okay. But I'll give you the preliminary idea, okay, the preliminary basis on how to exactly solve this, okay. So the Lagrangian of a system, you have a Lagrangian which is already given. So you basically don't have to design the Lagrangian, okay. The Lagrangian of the system is given by half ml square into theta dot square plus sine square phi dot square, okay, and then I think there is a minus there, okay, it's missed out, okay. So there is a minus there, minus mgl. So this is the entire Lagrangian, okay, this is also there, mgl cos theta, and this is half ml square theta dot square plus sine square phi dot square, okay. And obviously we know that m, l, and g doesn't have any effect, okay, on the equations of motion, so it is basically a constant. The question is, which of the following is conserved? So out of these four options that have been given, you know, these entrance exams, they will always give you options, okay, so you don't have to get confused. You have to do your calculation and then do it, okay. I think it's not a very good idea to always do mini 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 more, right, and select an answer. Not a very good idea, because of course these questions answers comes very close to each other. So if you do your calculations correctly, you probably will get your correct answer. So then match with any of the options here, okay. And then we can straight away go for the phi dot term. So we have ddt of del L del phi dot minus del L del phi, okay. So you know phi dot in the second term there is no such term as there is no such term as phi dot phi, I guess, right? See, this is phi dot here, this is theta, theta, and then this is theta. So this term won't appear because there is no phi. The only term that will appear is this one, okay. So that means we are very close to our answer. You just do your differentiation. I hope I have done it correctly. Is equal to 0. Then we can see that ddt of phi dot sine square theta is equal to 0. So as I told you, ddt of something is 0. That means that something is a constant. So phi dot sine square theta is a constant. So if phi dot sine square theta is a constant, that means that quantity is conserved. Okay? So this is what is the answer. So answer would be obviously A. Okay, so all of us has to be very careful for exam. Okay, so both of you are very near to the answer. One of you are correct and one was wrong, and you see that it becomes a bit risky, right? You just got it at the denominator, and that happens because of the calculation mistakes or other reasons, right? So we have to be very careful with that. So phi dot sine square theta is a constant. So that's why I've done it, because in Lagrangian we do have a large analysis. Okay, we have got different kind of analysis that can be done. What is constant, what is conserved, and so on. So that is also a part of it. Okay, so that is important. Okay. So the next is actually Hamiltonian formulation. Today I'm not going to start with a very detailed Hamiltonian formulation. I'm just going to give you a very basic. Okay. So what do I understand by Hamiltonian formulation, or why there is a need of an additional formulation if I already have a Lagrangian formulation? Okay. So at the outset, before we start, we know that L is equal to T minus V. Okay. So at the outset, we know L is equal to T minus V, and of course H, which is nothing but the Hamiltonian. And if you go into even quantum mechanics, the term Hamiltonian is used, okay, again and again. It actually represents the total energy. So it will be nothing but kinetic energy plus potential energy. Okay, let's not get confused here. Most of the times the kinetic energy is represented by T. Okay, So L is equal to T minus V will give you Lagrangian, and H is equal to T plus V will give you the Hamiltonian. So both of them actually deals with energy. Okay, both of them actually deals with energy. The approach is different. So if you will see eventually that if you are finding out the equation of motion using Lagrangian, okay, compound pendulum, you're going to get the same equation of motion using Hamiltonian also. That's obvious. That should happen. Otherwise, how can you use different formulation for getting? How can you get different answers with different formulation? It should be the same answer, but then the approach is different. So in this course, sometimes we really might not be able to appreciate that how important is the Hamiltonian formulation. But thinking about it practically or from research point of view or understanding physics point of view, Hamiltonian formulation sometimes makes things even more simpler compared to Lagrangian, okay, and vice versa. Sometimes Lagrangian is better, sometimes Hamiltonian is better, and so on. So the first thing, okay, the Lagrangian is basically a function of generalized coordinates and time. This is something which you already know. Okay, I've just written it on screen. Okay, Lagrangian is a function of generalized coordinate and time. So if we just consider this Lagrangian, we know that this is a function of q and then q dot. Okay, okay, and time. So we have got three variables here, okay, q dot and time. So you know that q dot is also nothing but dependent on q, okay. So that's why what I said is that the generalized velocities appear explicitly, okay. They do appear explicitly, but are time derivative of generalized coordinates. So see this term or this line sounds to be very technical, okay, but then this is something very obvious. We know that this is q dot. So q dot is nothing but dq by dt. So that means this is nothing but the time derivative of the coordinate. What coordinate? Generalized coordinate. So Lagrangian function of generalized coordinate and time is actually correct, okay, and the velocity that we are talking about is actually a dependent variable. The velocity that we're talking about is a dependent variable, okay. But you know, no, we want to get rid of this dependent variable. We actually want to take something which is more independent than the velocity. Okay? So we have got another form of writing this. So when we basically consider a Lagrangian formulation, in considering a Lagrangian formalism, a single particle, okay, in configuration space, okay, only supplies three initial values for each particle. So let me just tell you this. When we talk about this x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, okay, or wherever your particle is placed, that space we are considering it as the configuration space. And if you want to define the position of a particle, of a single particle, we are going to use three variables, right? So basically we have got three values, okay? So three initial values are needed to define the position of each particle. Now, when we consider something like momentum, there is also something which we call as the momentum coordinate. Okay, you know, momentum is a vector altogether. Okay, and then we have got the position also. So we have got the position and the momentum coordinate coming together now. So that means you need three coordinates for defining the position and three coordinates for defining the momentum. So if we consider that the momentum space as well as the configuration space together will give you something which you call as the phase space. Together they will give you as the phase space. So what is Hamiltonian? See, these concepts that we're developing of Lagrangian and Hamiltonian cannot be felt physically. It is basically a theory, an idea applied to a system, and estimated values are found out, and it was seen later that this agrees with whatever we observe experimentally. But Hamiltonian and Lagrangian in general is not something which you can observe physically. Okay? So Hamiltonian is again a concept, okay, and it is basically used to remove the dependent variable. So it will remove the dependent variable Qj, okay. So you know Qj, which is nothing but the generalized velocity coordinate. Qj dot is the generalized velocity. So Qj dot will be dependent on Qj, okay. But then if you consider momentum, that may or may not depend on Qj. Okay, the momentum might be in a different direction altogether. Okay, so that is why this a new concept is introduced in Hamiltonian, and what we do is we introduce a new independent variable and we call it the generalized momentum, and we represent it as Pj. So these notations are important. You take up any classical mechanics book, you will see that the generalized momentum is written as Pj. Okay, so this is what is important here. So the generalized coordinate, okay, we have got Qj, and the generalized momentum is Pj. Okay, and this generalized momentum may or may not depend on the generalized coordinate. So if that happens, we basically call it as an independent variable. So if this is an independent variable, we have removed the dependency on Qj dot. Okay. So in general, if you write down the Lagrangian, it is nothing but Qj dot and time. But if we consider the Hamiltonian, it's basically a function of Qj, generalized coordinate, Pj, generalized momentum, and T time. Okay. And depending on the problem, if it is time independent, T might not be there. Okay. But then we are considering it time for now. Okay. And this is basically a function of generalized coordinate, generalized momentum, and time. So this is why we are using this new formalism, which we basically called as the Hamiltonian. Okay, and then generalized momenta is there. Generalized momenta is there. Okay, and then this generalized momenta is not given by like, let's say if you consider something like velocity, we write it down as del qj del t, right? But then now this generalized momenta which we are considering is dependent on the Lagrangian, and this generalized momenta is given by del L del Qj dot. Del L del Qj dot. Okay. Please try to understand this. Okay. We are going to solve some problems based on this also. But then the generalized momenta is given by del L del Qj dot. You know, this L is basically a function of T and V, right? T minus V. So that means Hamiltonian and Lagrangian are connected here. So the generalized momenta is del L del Qj dot. Where does this Qj dot comes from? This Qj dot does not come from here because this is potential energy. And potential energy, if you take, we have got different forms, of course, but obviously the fundamental does not change. Potential energy is nothing but mgh. So mgh, okay, height is a coordinate. M and G are constant. H is a coordinate. So if H is a coordinate, that means that it doesn't depend on the velocity, right? It's just a coordinate. So it might be a generalized coordinate, but does not depend on velocity. But then if this is considered, the time is considered here. Oh, sorry, not time. The kinetic energy is considered here. This is nothing but the most simplest form is half mv square. So whatever equation you write down for kinetic energy, you can always write it down in terms of velocity. So this will be half mv square. Okay, so this is half mv square. So we can always replace it here, okay, and then we can actually find out what is the generalized momentum.